but he is also on the board of Grand Jury Justice. Clay has been amazing to work with. He helps us really put together these rallies and bring people together. Clay?
Hello, everybody. My name is Clay, as she said. First thing I want to do is thank our sponsors for adopting our this right now. We have Wounded Warrior Roofing, Tulsa, Oklahoma. J.H. Davidson, Power Company, Tulsa, Oklahoma as well. On-call house warranty out of Tulsa. Precise and Project Roofing out of Tulsa. Ohana Plumbing out of Tulsa. H&H people. They've gone above and beyond to help us out. Like I said, Teresa's here. She's doing a fantastic job with this help us get this together right here. If you look right behind me, you'll notice the Supreme Court is right there. And I think it's ironic because Teresa picked that spot to have this event facing the Supreme Court because that's where all the decisions are made. I don't know where to start here. It's kind of a mess across the board. I mean, it's not family court, probate court, criminal court. It's all messed up. There has to be a change at some point in all of it. It needs to really start happening quick because it's getting worse and worse by the day. I think the most recent events in Payne County and some of the other counties that have been going on is a telltale sign that something has to change for the people. We're not getting justice. There's victims that are being left with their perpetrators out on the streets with them, with no punishment at all. It starts with the legislation right here where we're at. We're at the heart of everything that we're doing right now. And this is the building and everything that happens that never starts. And we have to start getting our legislators to change some of the written language to benefit the people, to benefit the DAs, the family court attorneys, judges. This blanketed immunity that they have has to change. With no accountability, there's no reason for them to straighten up and not protect their friends. And I'm not going to go. I've seen it going on, but there's reasons why things are going on that have been going on for years, decades. It's time that some of that gets changed. I want to thank Oklahoma Predator Prevention for showing up. They've been a victim here in Texas. The ones that are standing up for the victims are the ones that are getting arrested for the crimes. I don't know what's going on in this nation. It's crazy. And it's not just Oklahoma. Like I said, they were arrested in Texas. But we can't fix them. We can fix right here in Oklahoma. And that's what we're here for today. I think that's it.
Thank you, Clay. Our next speaker is Marquise Dennis. He is with Birthright Living Legacy. Now, he was fashionably led today, so I'm going to call him out on that. But Marquise, if you could come up and talk a little bit about what you'd like to see in our state.
Just wanted to let you all know we are here to attack processes, not people. The purpose of this is to get to greater transparency. I represent fathers in the state of Oklahoma. We are Father Hill Celebration and Support Organization. And what we run into often is we're trying to, fight for equal rights for parenting, to get justice. And a lot of times we have these arguments back and forth because you can't see so many things that are happening off script. We have families that have to represent themselves pro se because they are not getting what they consider to be a fair trial. And so what this does is being able to add cameras to the courtroom is it eliminates the conversation back and forth of what actually happened. If you have out-of-state health or people that are interested in wanting
Now just think about it. We have cameras in the stores. Then we have cameras on the cop cars. We then have body cams for the police, and they said that protects the police, but also protects the victims or the people that are committing the crimes. But then once we get into the courtroom, it's what? We don't know what happened on the other end. We don't know what was said on the other end. And again, this protects the judges as well as protects the attorneys as well as the victims and the people that are being accused. So we're trying to just give total transparency. And what we're not doing is we're not trying to ask for just blanket situations. There's already laws in place for what can be reported and what can't be reported as far as putting juveniles at risk or people that are at risk in perpetuity. We want to make sure that we stay protected in those areas. But if we can take it a step further, there are family members that are out of the state, out of the country sometimes that want to know what is going on with my cousin or my sibling or someone, and I just want to know what is happening because I just had a father the other day who is not getting what but when he went in, he thought he was going to be able to get the then granted appeal that was given to him, but it was not. He was arrested. And they put a $17,000 bounty on him. And if it had not been for somebody in his camp knowing to call me, he would have just been stuck there. And all of us would have been wondering, what happened? Where did you go? Here we are trying to help. Here we are trying to assist, but we can't because there's not an equal amount of transparency. And then to think to go back for that same dad who's having to represent himself, go say, but they have to pay upwards of $1,200 just to get the script of what was being talked about. It's absolutely insane. And again, what we're not talking about is individual people. We're saying, hey, how about we fix the process? This is not a guarantee, fix-all, end-all, be-all. What it is we're getting that we can all agree that if we're going to be filmed in the stores, in public, in all of the places we're being filmed right now, then take it to the dash cams, the body cams, people holding their phones. Why then can't we take it a step further and have a responsibility inside the courtroom so we can make sure that I'm not being done just because I'm taller than she is. She may get a better trial because she's short, or she's wearing pink, or I'm wearing black. Those are the kinds of arguments that we kill, because then we can see what exactly is happening. Are they holding it to the letter of the law that we as Oklahomans vote on? Those politicians, those judges, they represent our need. They represent our state. And it's about time that we have a say in how they conduct themselves, and that we hold them accountable to the same level that they hold us. And again, we are here to be able to say that we understand that what they do is of great importance. We do understand that there's nuance in every case and every situation. But what we're saying is, in the times that it could be permitted, we want to give equal level of transparency as well as being able to know that when we have law students who are looking to get some case law and understand how this thing works, they're not being indoctrinated or taught by whoever it is that they get their first internship from. We get to let them see exactly what goes on in the courtroom at their convenience and anyone around the state or connected to the victims or the people being abused, that they know for sure what is going on from the beginning all the way to the end. And I thank you that we're here to be able to answer these questions. But we thank you for your support. We know what a great commitment it means to you to be here on a Saturday. And we're just absolutely overjoyed because this is something that our state needs.
Thank you, Marquise, for that wonderful speech. Our next speaker is Ms. Rosario Chico. Rosario and I have worked really hard together. Her focus has always been DHS reform, family court reform. We worked together on multiple grand jury petitions. She also is the founder of Page 6 Oklahoma. So if you guys are following Page 6 Oklahoma, that's where you're getting a lot of our information on our rallies, events, or situations that are happening in our state. If spelled out, not the H-S-I-X. Rosario Chico.
Thank you. So I'll start with the first time that we were in this Capitol building was June of 2023. And the goal then was DHS reform and really to focus on the well-being of children in Oklahoma. If you guys know a little bit about Oklahoma, we rank very low and among the worst in so many categories. We are among the worst in domestic violence, child abuse, trafficking. We have one of the highest incarceration rates in the country, therefore the world. We are a state that loves to criminalize women. Many of these women were child sexual abuse victims as children. And whenever we came together, it was for DHS reform. I am a TV producer. I was introduced to the state of Oklahoma when I moved here to work for the First 48. And I thought that I was moving here to work on reality, true crime television. And little did I know that in the state of Oklahoma, there was more than just these homicides that need to be documented and that need to come to light. The reality is we have so many crimes happening within our court system, to our families, to our children. We have, over the years, have had an overwhelming amount of people that reach out to us, people that have lost their children without due process. There is an issue with DHS, whether it's lack of protecting children or over-prosecuting families, as well as adult protective services. What's very concerning, and we still need to do some research, is that when you lose your children to the DHS system, you still have ways to hopefully recover your children. But whenever you have an adult that's disabled, I don't know that there's a way to recover adults. So if you have a child that has a disability and you lose the child once they're 18 years or older, I really don't know if there's a system to recover adults once DHS gets involved. And that's a question that I want to answer. I went to go work for DHS October of 2019 after DHS failed my children horribly. I wanted to know by experience, by policy, by training, that yes, my children were failed. And what I found is that they were. But in trying to protect my children, I ran into hundreds of families. And not just child cases, not just child abuse cases, but criminal cases. The lack of prosecuting child abuse, in particularly child sexual abuse. We have had probate cases where people lose their inheritance, their homes, and we really have a system that's failing in Oklahoma. So this has turned into trying to protect children, trying to change the system for children to realizing as a whole, we are failing in Oklahoma. And we can't wait any longer for our legislators to get it together, for our governor to get it together, for the attorney general to get it together, for district attorneys, judges, law enforcement, DHS. We can't wait anymore. We really waited, and look where we are. We have lost family members to adult protective services that we can't recover. We have lost properties that we can't recover. We have lost children that we can't recover, freedom that we can't recover. We have the highest incarceration rate, and we have the death penalty in Oklahoma. But in all reality, whenever we have a system that's lacking so much, we really need to reconsider what And unless they get involved, these predators are never held accountable. And so they help get these predators off the street. And right now, they're being prosecuted in the state of Texas. And so they need our help. If you guys can follow Oklahoma Predator Prevention on Facebook, follow them. On this live, we'll drop a donation box. Now they're having to collect fees for attorneys. We believe it's a malicious prosecution and an injustice whenever it's so difficult to prosecute these child crimes, whenever we have someone who's trying to help get predators off the streets. Now they're being prosecuted while the predator is also being prosecuted. So we're going to do a call to action for them. Put a list of what we need to be doing for them. There's calling to get the charges dismissed, doing donations, sharing their page. And so I want to thank Oklahoma Predator Prevention for being here and being grateful for our children. Because sadly, we have a system that so often fails children. And this room is full of people who are trying to protect our state from injustice. And so, thank you all for being brave, for showing up, for bringing your cases, because there's something that needs to be addressed. State Representative J.J. Humphrey was going to speak about the Jesse Butler case. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard it. It's made national news. But essentially in Oklahoma, we have a two-tier system that if you walk in with a very connected attorney, if your family is connected to someone, the level of justice you receive is going to be different than someone who doesn't have the means to get an attorney, who isn't connected in society. And so we've seen the system fail so many and fail victims. And in the state of Oklahoma, sadly, across the board, we violate Marcy's law. And Marcy's law is there to protect victims and to allow victims to have a say in how the prosecution goes. If there's going to be a deal that's offered or not, or taken to jury trial. And so we are here to prevent these kinds of injustices, to say this isn't going to happen anymore. Because it can't happen anymore. We're already at the bottom. And the way I see it, I'm going to try to be positive. We're already at the rock bottom. It's only going to get better. But it's only going to get better if all of us mobilize, organize, and we realize that everyone's fight is also your fight. Because across the room, I can just look, and we have all sorts of different court cases, and we have to come together so that every group is not fighting alone. We are a bipartisan organization and effort. We don't care if you're Republican, we don't care if you're Democrat, we don't care if you have a party. We don't care what your religious background is, because the reality is this justice system is not going to discriminate and only go after one type of people. It just isn't. And so we have to put aside our differences and fight together, because while politics keep us divided, religions, backgrounds, preferences, the only thing that's going to change it is if we come together. And politicians are listening. We do have DHS who follows this page. We have people in office who follow the page. We have district attorneys who are very concerned about what we're doing and what grand juries. So never underestimate your voice, because our voice is extremely loud. With that, I want to say there are good DHS members. There's outstanding law enforcement, judges. We have a lot in the background for law enforcement. A lot of them are feeling concerned about retaliation. We have attorneys that come to us with concerns that they can't speak openly because they don't want their cases to suffer. We have judges that reach out and in the background, voicing that they are supportive of what we're doing. And so we have public defenders that reach out, and we can
Next we have Bob Hawkins. He is an attorney in Oklahoma City. Well, he's a civil rights attorney and advocate for judicial reform. I got to speak to him a little bit. He had quite a bit to say, so I'm kind of looking forward to this. Rob Hawkins.
I don't really know how I can follow Chico because that was and everything she said, it has always been true for me, and it's you don't get a voice if you're in the courtroom, and I live in the courtroom, so meeting a lot of you guys this afternoon has been pretty much the highlight of my year. It's because of you that I wake up every day, because of you that I keep putting your foot in front of the other. I'll share something a little bit about myself, but it's not what means the most, but it's what's given me the courage to stand before you. I was born a woman 38 years ago, and I decided to be my true self. And because of that, I've become a marginalized person in the courtroom. But because of that, it's also chosen me, I think, to work through me, and just like Chico said, to recognize that it's all of us together regardless of that. So I understand that everyone has an opinion, and I'm here to talk about myself in that way. I just wanted to add that is that it has also highlighted my life into seeing even more of the marginalized people in our community. And I'm talking from homeless all the way to the victims and the victims in the judicial system as what we are here talking about today. And so I'll go into that. I started working in family law and fell in my lap. If you've ever met a family law lawyer, it's probably the least amount of work that they ever wanted to do, because it's the hardest work, because it affects exactly what Chico touched on, our families, and that's what means the most to us. And so our families are who care about most in the courtroom, and so when I take on a case, I don't care what side I'm on, I want to be on the child's side, even if I'm not working for the child. And so that's the issue with the Department of Human Services. I haven't had a chance to personally talk to Chico yet, but I was talking here is that they were an agency founded to help families back in the 70s. And like everybody, they wanted to assist people they as an agency themselves. But as Oklahoma has become such a state of crime, violence, domestic violence, education, all of the things, there's not enough people to work the system. And so at the end of the day, we have innocent people going in to make a difference, graduating and getting their degree in social work, wanting to go out there and actually be the first in their family to not be a part of the system, meaning not be a part of working or growing up in foster care. And then they realize what happened. They're overworked and they're underpaid. And then they're dealing with everybody's trauma. And so what we should be doing is helping DHS and helping DHS and helping their employees, getting them to find out at this bottom level as what's happening, why are these workers burnt out, what's happening to these families, do we not have enough oversight, do we not have enough training? And so I absolutely agree with transparency. We have a policy, they have a policy. All of you can look at their policy online. It's online, their policy. What they do when they take kids out of the home. And at the end of the day, the policy is the issue, is that is their policy. They're an agency. And if we don't hold them to that standard, if we don't gather together as one, if we don't show up at court, even if we do get kicked out, because it's a private action, or it's a guardianship, or it's an adoption, and you can't get in there. But our numbers matter, our voices matter, and you as a community all together as one, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, together is where it's at. I want to talk a little bit about the second speaker who mentioned cameras in the courtroom. I've always thought that was a good idea because I personally, out of my own pocket, have paid for some of my clients' transcripts because I really get that transcript upon a deadline. So I didn't have time to go get an application or a proper affidavit to get a free transcript. But just like Chico touched on, I've had lots of people reach out with information to me because they're not brave enough. But at this point, it can't get any worse for me, is what I say. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to be brave, but I'm always going to be professional. I'm always going to follow the law because I believe in it. I still believe in the system. It's the only system we have. So we can't run up. We can't destroy the system. We can only put it back together. We can only rebuild it, and it only we can do that. We, the people. And that's what I truly believe. And ultimately, I think that if we get together as one and reach out to your senator, reach out to legislators, come to this building. They have phone numbers. You can call them. You can write a letter. And what I learned is that all of them are just everyday people and wanting to make a change and don't know where to distribute their efforts. And so at the end of the day, I think that a lot of them have had real cases, and that if we can all take that time to work together, bring that out, your case matters, talking about your case matters, using our social media platforms matter. And I think I had a question earlier that said, well, what's the worst county you've been in? And that's where I'm going to go to Chico. There's not one. There's 77 counties and they all need work. I haven't been to every single county, but I've been to probably almost every. And a lot of them are real scary. And decisions are made before I even show up. And so transparency with DHS, absolutely. That's got to come first. There's policy, we need to follow that policy. If you're a foster parent in here, or if you're a kinship placement in here, your voice matters too. And I think a lot of the time we forget that. Your voice matters too. Those kids are in your home for a reason, or maybe they shouldn't have ever been in your home. But at the end of the day, bridging, talking to parents, knowing that it could be you, just like Chico talked about her own children, it could be you. DHS, it's not they're not looking for a classified person. It could be all of you. And you never know when DHS is putting it on here. And so, policy, that's it. That's all we can do. And at the end of the day, I often see this say I've been here for 3 years, and I work for the people all day long. And I'm going to do it until I get it. So, thanks.
Our next speaker is Alexander Torby. He is running for House District 54. He is a conservative who's really huge on family values and education.
I heard there was going to be a Bigfoot sighting here today. Sorry, I couldn't help that. I know JJ, we love what he does. My name's Alexander Torby, and most everybody calls me Torby, and call me what you want, but just don't call me late for dinner. All right, just a little bit about myself is a little bit about my background. My wife and I began our life together back in 1989 in her hometown of Porter, where we raised our children, ran our small business. We have spent many years involved with our community. We invested nearly 20 years of involvement with youth sports, coaching and cheering for our daughter's softball teams, to both of our sons playing Little League football and baseball all the way up into high school. I've spent nearly 4 decades in the construction industry and started my small business nearly 20 years ago. It's been said that success is measured by longevity, so I think this is a good indication that we've been successful so far. I'm often asked, why are you running for a public office? Well, I'm running for public office to protect my family, protect what matters most to me, and to make sure that more families and other Oklahoma families have the same opportunities that my wife and I have been blessed with. Many Oklahoma families have been affected by some of the bad decisions at DHS. Our family is not different. We need reform and accountability, and it starts with leadership at the highest levels of state government. Sadly, there are many cases that don't work out like ours did. and this is not acceptable. Our role as Oklahomans is to work with our legislators to create greater oversight of state agencies and hold those accountable who fail to protect our family. I believe it is extremely important that we elect legislators who have gone through these difficult situations and may give greater clarity and understanding when it comes to writing legislation. This must be corrected. We must protect our children and we must keep our families together. I'm just going to keep this short and sweet. I didn't mean to come here to do a political campaign speech out there, so I actually just came from Mountain View today. But I just wanted to tell Teresa and Chico, thank you for what you guys do, and thank you for inviting me to speak today. And I do look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Thank you, Alexander Torby. Our next speaker is a very good friend of mine, Senator Connie Johnson. We've worked together for more years than I can count. She's been a huge advocate for DHS reform. She's served on more committees than I can count. I mean, her background is so vast. I can't brag enough about her. But recently, she's joined the Board of Grand Jury Justice. She has helped multiple efforts across the state. Don't make your way up here while I keep talking. Senator Connie Johnson, like you say, once a senator, always a senator, and she'll continue serving the state of Oklahoma until I don't think she'll ever retire. Senator Connie Johnson.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? I'm happy to be here. Is this productive so far? Is this useful? Okay, we're trying. We're trying. I'm Senator Connie Johnson, and I'm just delighted to be here with folks like Rosario and Teresa. They let me hang out with them. I'm the old person in the room. But I'm just grateful because of their energy, because they are willing to step up and continue fighting the issues that I have the privilege of fighting for over 33 years in this building. I worked here first as a person who wrote legislation, and then I was elected to the Senate. But what's most impressive to me about the whole journey has been the issues that we've talked about. The issues, to me, that stem from a bunch of egregious sentencing schemes that tie in many times with the child welfare system, that create a lot of bad experiences, a lot of mistrust, a lot of just downright treating people wrong in Oklahoma. Let me, that's my grandson. And it kind of brings me back to what it was all about. When I was on staff, I wrote legislation like the best interest of the child. You remember those policies? Yeah. Those best interests have now evolved into who gets the most money in the Title IV program. But I was familiar with it also because of the reality of grandparents raising grandchildren. So, sure, I'm not raising my grandson, but we had an incident one night where I had to go to the hospital because I didn't get there. DHS was going to take me into custody. I've been there, done that too. And I'm grateful because I had a car. I could get across town in 10 minutes to get my grandson. Some people can't. And I used to go see my grandmother in the summer in Holdenville. But these were grandparents raising grandchildren, running into issues about getting school records, running into issues about their kid getting in and out of prison, and playing them for custody, the whole spectrum. But all of it was driven, I believe, believe by the laws that a lot of people are up in the first place, the sentencing schemes. So cameras in the courtroom, to me, will help restore trust in the system. Someone mentioned we got cameras everywhere. I had that same thought. I got cameras in my house. And I guarantee you that if something happened, Ray could access what's on my cameras. I try not to walk around naked too much, because I'm just saying, it's my house. So having cameras in the courtroom is simply a solution, a policy, a proposal, to me, that helps address the egregiousness of the sentencing schemes that right now have people in prison. The number one at the top of the list is the death penalty. We just, grateful to God, did not execute someone who didn't kill someone the other day. Under the law called felony murder, that's a sentencing example. 3 strikes you're out is another example of a sentence in Oklahoma. Consecutive concurrent sentencing and plea bargaining. These are all laws, these are all policies that are written that drive incarceration at the time to fulfill the 98% bed occupancy guarantee that we gave private prisons. I'm gonna say hats off to Governor Smith. I think he's successfully gotten rid of private prisons for the most part in Oklahoma. But that was driving incarceration, which was driving children to be in the child welfare system and to have to be raised by their grandparents. Which then brings us to why grandparents and parents are having their children taken, and why cameras in the courtroom will help us resolve that. Now, the real reason, so that's my 2 cents on that. I have a company called Advocacy Works. Under that banner, I've been able to partner with groups like you see here this morning. But my main goal is to help people understand that all of these policies are put in place by people you either vote for or you didn't vote for. This gentleman is asking for your vote. He's here, right? But what are you going to ask of him, right? My sister sitting right here has legislation to talk about what happened under COVID. All of the policies that get made right in here, like 149 people that you get to vote for. And so I'm blessed with her because I said, who's your legislator? She didn't really know. But you gotta know who that person is. OKSenate.gov. If you don't know, who knows who that legislator is in there right now? Who knows? Okay, no, that's the wrong question. Who doesn't know? That's good. That's good. Now you know. OKSenate.gov. You must know. Her senator is Senator Brenda's family in Midwest City. She can call senators down there and say, Senator, I have to talk with you about a legislative proposal, and then she should throw in cameras in the courtroom. But the whole process, the process is all the same. You got legislation is an idea, or we're going to change something that's already written. If you have new ideas, take them to your elected official. You could ask them to do 3 things. Ask them to introduce it, or if someone else has introduced it, like Senate Bill 601, a moratorium on the death penalty, ask your legislator to co-author it, right? If you talk to your legislator and find out, well, they just can't support you on that, ask them to just don't vote, to walk the vote. So you got 3 things you can ask about whatever it is you want it to get done. But after all of that, and she's coming, I'm not trying to tell me sit down, I have one more thing to say. I have one more thing to say. After you do that, and you can't get what you've asked that elected official to do? What you get to do? You get to vote. That's my whole point. Tuesday, a week ago, people voted because they finally feel that they don't have any food, that their medicine is not a given, that their housing is insecure. People voted. And if you don't believe that your one vote beats every $1 million, I dare you to vote. See what happened last Tuesday. Right? We must vote. Oklahoma is one of the lowest registered voting states in the nation. We have the lowest voter turnout in the nation. And then we wonder why women don't have reproductive rights here. Don't get me started. Anyway, the point of the matter is, issues like cameras in the courtroom are vital issues. I would like to see why someone says, no, I won't do that. Is everybody committed to asking your legislator to either author the bill or what? Co-author the bill? Or not vote on it if it comes up but they can't support it? All right, that's all. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Our next speaker is Jake Bob, and he is a Youth Creek County Republican representative, and he is the founder of Turning Point at Drum Rock High School. I wanted to invite him to speak today mainly because it's important that we get our youth involved. It's important that they learn the process early on because they are the future of what our state's going to be. So I got to speak with Jake a little bit. He's very, very knowledgeable and very, very focused on creating positive changes for our state. So I'm going to give him the mic, give him the opportunity to speak about how important it is to be politically involved.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jake Bob. I'm a Youth Creek County Republican representative and the founder of Turning Point USA at Junior High School. It's an honor to be here at the Oklahoma State Capitol today. I am only 15 years old, and I'm here because young people have a voice and have voice matters. I started my Turning Point USA chapter because students needed a place to speak out. Students needed a place to learn about freedom. Students needed a place where conservative values were not judged. So I stepped up. I built something. I created a chapter where students can also think about and think for themselves, not to be told what to do and what to think, but to make their own decisions. As a Youth Creek County Republican representative, I work to bring young voices into the conversation. I show that leadership does not start at 18, it starts when you decide to care, when you decide to get involved, when you decide to take action. Civic engagement is not for adults only. Civic engagement starts here. It starts with showing up, knowing what is happening, and only understanding that the choices made here at the Capitol affect every one of us. My Turning Point USA chapter helps students learn about the Constitution, about military government, about free speech, but most importantly, it gives students the courage to stand up for what they believe in. My mission is simple: raise new leaders, push for civic involvement, stand for strong conservative values, and make sure young people have a seat at the table. I am proud of what we are doing in Denver. I am proud to represent Creek County, and I'm proud to be a part of a generation that refuses to say silent. Thank you all for supporting the voices of the youth. Thank you for believing in the future of Oklahoma, and for believing for young kids who are too scared to stand up. That is one of the reasons why I created this group. It's because in our schools, we are told what to believe in instead of deciding what we want to believe in. I feel like my Turning Point USA group can be a big involvement in schools to show students where you don't have to feel judged for what you believe in. You can join the group and share what you believe in. So that is my Turning Point USA group, and that's all I'm here to talk about today. Thank you all.
Our next speaker is a good friend of mine, Miss Martina. Do we go by Davis or Brittany? Right? Davis. She is the Lawton whistleblower and an advocate for multiple issues across the state. Miss Martina has always been a part of supporting the movements that come across, and whether it's DHS reform, judicial reform, there's more that I can add. She has been a powerful voice that's not afraid to speak out, and because of it, she's faced multiple retaliation. But we're watching her as she's turning the page, and she's winning. So, Miss Martina, if you could come in and speak to us about the importance of cameras in the courtroom.
I'm Martina Davis. I advocate in Lawton. I'm a veteran, and I'm still serving my community. I advocate for First Amendments, which cover 5 principles. As I was advocating, the same individuals who took an oath to uphold the Constitution for my freedom took my freedom away. I was incarcerated just for advocating for First Amendment. And once I got to the due process stage, they took my story because there's no cameras in the courtroom. They say that we can get our transcript, but they have people blocking others from getting the transcript. I had an auditor come out to get my transcript. The city clerk blocked them from getting my transcript. So, I believe we need cameras in the courtroom. Not just audio. Our voices are just not the only thing that's language. Body language. We need to see the judge's body language. We need to see the DA body language. We need to see all of that. Our stories stops at the courtroom due to the lack of transparency there. And once they cut you off from the public, they will try to create a narrative for your story. So this is why we need cameras in the courtroom. It took me going to the Supreme Court to get these charges overturned. So I'm advocating for cameras in the courtroom, especially in Lawton and Comanche County. They are so corrupt. It's more that it's a lot more that I can say, but I can't, due to the courtroom and the due process. Isn't that crazy? The same place that we're supposed to go to get due process. It's not happening because there are silence about this, and we need cameras in the courtroom. Thank you.
Our next speaker is spoken at several of our events. Ms. Haley Luther. There she is. She has her own case and her own situation. She helped lead a grand jury petition recently. Great County. So we'll let her come up here and talk a little bit about her case and what she sees happening and what she wants to do.
Hi, my name is Haley Luther, and I'm here because a judge in Grady County turned my daughter's life into collateral damage in a system that pretends to protect children. So let's go ahead and talk about Judge D. Joseph Young, because his actions deserve bail. This judge allowed fraud and perjury into my case like it was routine court business. DHS walked into this courtroom with false statements, fabricated narratives, and an affidavit that never met the legal threshold for removal. And instead of stopping it and holding DHS accountable, he let us straight through the record. most serious accusation that a litigant can make brought upon the court is a nuclear violation. It means that the integrity of the entire case has been compromised. Judge Young didn't schedule a hearing. He didn't review the evidence, and he didn't take any testimony into accountability. He just simply denied it. No explanation, no findings, nothing. That is not judicial discretion, that is judicial malpractice. So then after listening to correct his own misconduct, I accused him, in which it took him 2 hours to agree to be recused. Instead of stepping away like the law requires, he kept working behind the scenes with opposing counsel. Nonetheless, he signed subpoenas for witnesses who weren't even parties in the case. He did it outside the legal time window, and that's not just improper, it's unlawful. A accused judge has 0 jurisdiction. A accused judge signing subpoenas is void ab initio, and an accused judge acting on one side's request of bias and motion. So I had to do what no parent ever should have to do. I had to go to the Oklahoma Supreme Court and ask them to stop this judge from continuing to interfere in my case after his recusal. Just think about that. You know, a parent trying to protect her child has to go to the highest court in the state to prohibit a judge from participating in a case he had already set up. That's not family court. That's a systemic fault. And while all this is happening, Judge Young denied the most critical evidence in my case. The forensic interview, where my daughter clearly and consistently and explicitly identified her abusers. That interview should have restricted protection instead it was married. Ignored, treated like an inconvenience. A system that refuses to hear a child's voice is a system that protects abusers, and you won't change my mind. A system that enables DHS to commit fraud in a system that violates due process. It's also a judge who signs after recusal is a judge who has abandoned the rule of law, in my opinion. My daughter deserves protection. All of our children deserve protection. I deserve due process, along with everybody else. And instead, we're forced to fight an entire judicial machine designed to silence us while empowering the very people who harmed us, who harmed her. But hearing clearly, we are not done. We are not backing down, and we are not moving away. Because the truth deserves sunlight, and my child deserves justice, and I will burn every inch of this broken system until record, until accountability. It is the only thing that's standing.
Thank you so much, Haley. It was wonderful. Our next speaker, this man has been fighting so long. Friday, they had a big rally, and if you guys have heard of Leo's Law, this is the father that's behind Leo's Law. His focus on trying to change policy to help children avoid fentanyl overdose has been his passion. I've watched this kid work nonstop. This has been his life since he lost his son, and I'm so proud of the work that he's done. So I'm going to invite Jacob Toad here to talk about Leo's Law and kind of give you guys a little bit of information behind this.
First off, I'd like to thank you guys for being here today. It's pretty important that we do these things, that we show up and we speak out. So, first off, I'd like to say thank you, everybody. My name is Jacob Tao. I'm a father, my son, his name is Leonardo Tao. And I'm here today because the Oklahoma Department of Human Services, the agency entrusted with protecting our children, failed mine. And it's failed far too many families in this city. Today is not about politics. It's not a red issue. It's not a blue issue. It is a red, white, blue issue. Today is about accountability for DHS. For far too long, families across Oklahoma have carried stories of injustice, neglect, poor oversight decisions that cost children their safety. In far too many cases, these aren't very tragedies. They're recurring stories. My son Leonardo passed away at the age of 3 years old last year from a fentanyl exposure while he was with his mother. She was suspected of using, but DHS did not ever test her for fentanyl. When you lose a child of a system failure, you don't just lose a child, you lose the future. I lost the chance to ever hear his laughter, see his smile, and to watch my son grow up. And the world lost a little boy whose light still shines today. No parent should ever have to build a movement because the system is broken. No parent should have to stand in this building begging people and powerless. No parent should ever have to bear a child because an agency we trust didn't do their job. Leo's law was introduced by Speaker Kyle Hilder yesterday. What it requires is that DHS test for fentanyl if it's involved or suspected in a case. Caregivers, parents, caseworkers, it doesn't matter. We need to protect these children. So it was introduced yesterday. It puts more accountability on parents in DHS cases as well as DHS. We've tried to pass laws and DHS fights us. And these lawmakers, I promise you, will not fight near as hard as we will. It's us that will make the change. And yesterday was a perfect example of that. To every parent and advocate here, please don't stop. Don't back down. Do not be intimidated by titles, offices, and the size of the system, because there's nothing more powerful on earth than determined parents fighting for their children. Today is not a protest, today is a promise that we will not rest until children are protected, a promise that we will not stop until transparency is sustained. Oklahoma has a real big problem, guys. There is no transparency here, and there is no accountability here. Money just vanishes. DHS has no problem. It is a problem. We need to fix this. When we unite the people, these lawmakers take notice. When families stand together, the state listens. And when a community refuses to be silent, change becomes real. This forces DHS to be accountable in ways they haven't been before. I'm Leo's father. Leo deserves better. All of our children deserve better. And together, we can make sure that no other families suffer and have the same kind of stories we do. We just want transparency, truth, and change. Is that too much to ask for? Is truth and transparency too much to ask for? Is it? I do not think so. Accountability. I'd like to thank Clay. I'd like to thank Marquise, everything you guys do. It's important to do these kind of things so that these people know that we care and we're fighting. I want you guys to know that we can make a difference, I promise you. I promise you guys we can make a difference, and we will if we stand together and work towards the right things. May God bless all the children, all the families, and DHS, please do the right thing. Amen. Hold on, I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. This right here is all children that passed away from fentanyl. Babies, little babies, it's our job to protect them. We must do that. We must do that. These aren't babies that never even had a chance. They're not drug addicts. The stick is not true when it comes to these babies. This painting right here is from a lady. I got it from her in DC. Those are all the children that have. Please take an opportunity to look at that and know why we're fighting to protect these children. DHS can help. This is hope. Sure.
I am Sandra. I stand here with Jay today because we are part of the Gulf Movement to belong to. We are the parents who survive the most unmanageable loss of our children, not to war, not to illness, but to something silent, ruthless, ignoble. We're fighting to wake up this country to the dangers of fentanyl and illicit drugs because this crisis is stealing our babies in seconds. And it does not care if they're struggling, experimenting, celebrating, or just trying to fall asleep. It takes them anywhere. We speak their names, we stand on their shoulders, and we use their pain as a warning sign to the world. I'm here because my daughter hoped she had dreams, she had plans, she had a future, and I refuse to let her story die. So today, standing in this Capitol, I'm asking every lawmaker, every person with power to help act like their children matter, because they did and they still do. We fight because their voices were stolen. We advocate because the world needs to hear what they have a chance to say. And we will not stop until every family is spared is heard. Thank you.
Now, as we bring our next speaker up, Megan's Dennis, I wanted to read something as we had a few people we invited to speak that weren't able to make it. Representative J.J. Humphreys had to get from today. Senator Fredo had a family event that we forgot about, so we had to attend that. But we had also invited Brent Watson. He is a CPA, but he also is the founder of Wagner County Citizens Against Corruption. So he sent this, he wrote this up for me that I wanted to go ahead and read. And Megan, you can make your way up. I'm no politician, only a citizen of Wagner County. However, last January, at a meeting about suspects being raised in our county for at least 10 years, I learned that this was happening because our sheriff's department was responsible for the horrendous death of an inmate, Angela Dickens, who had type 1 diabetes but was not given insulin needed, resulting in horrendous suffering and death 16 days after booking into the jail. At that same meeting, I began to learn that another person, Jeffrey Kruger, had died at the hands of the sheriff's department. This 25-year-old young man from Texas was simply driving through our county when he stopped to get gas and was pulled over by deputies moments later because one of them thought he may have been drunk. Within 15 seconds of being pulled over after being given demands that were conflicting, according to court testimony, he was dragged out of his car, his head slammed in the pavement of Highway 51, and tasered as many as 13 times, and his ribs were fractured in 17 places, resulting in asphyxia and death. The county settled the Liggins case for $13.5 million. The Kruger case is asking for more, which appears to be likely to resolve. The U.S. 10th Circuit Court of Appeals just issued a scathing 83-page opinion affirming the circuit's court's ruling that the arresting officers used excessive lethal force and were not entitled to qualified immunity defense. No one was charged with wrongdoing in those years. No sheriff personnel were terminated for these horrendous acts. Both the sheriff and the DA failed to protect our community. These and other abuses have occurred in our county, and they seem more like what we would expect in Russia and North Korea than in our community. I could not ignore this. The words of Dietrich Bonhoeffer had reverberated in my soul. Silence in the face of evil in itself is evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. I join with dozens of other concerned citizens, Christians, and those whose Christian guidance echo Dietrich's thought. We organized and initiated a grand jury petition asking for investigation of the sheriff, some of his deputies, and the DA. We did not know how to do this, but our tremendous group of folks nearly achieved a collection of 4,300 required signatures in a very short 45-day collection. We collected 4,107 signatures, of which 3,730 were certified as valid. We were harassed. Some were followed by sheriff vehicles.
We had police called on us multiple times for no valid reason. We were threatened on Julian and writing. The DA threatened to sue us if we filed felony charges against collectors and those who simply signed in some statement. Even asked the state agent to assign another case to pursue us, a request that the agent rejected, likely for political reasons. One can ask, was this worth the struggle? We paid a high cost in personal threats, hundreds of hours of time volunteered, and thousands of dollars. My answer is this: what is liberty worth? If we fail to act and we see innocent people killed, we are not part of the problem, are we? The two greatest commands in the Bible are to love God with all our heart and to soul, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. We were obedient to the second command. Like Dietrich, we were not silent, and we paid the price. It was the right thing to do. We are not finished with these issues. We are waiting for God's direction about the next steps. The evil in our time should be rooted out, and we intend to be obedient to God's command to love our neighbors, and we will not fail to act or speak. And that is from Brett Watson, the Wagner County Citizens Against Corruption. Megan Stinnett?
The judge ordered that the investigations be turned over, and all of them said unsubstantiated, and the investigators on the case told me that they substantiated this abuse. And no one person or department should have the right to unsubstantiate what is proven abuse. I was informed by higher-ups that anybody in state office or anyone higher up than the investigator is allowed to change substantiated abuse. And when I reacted to my son's abuse, I was called emotional, erratic, hard to deal with, and I was accused of having mental health issues because I freaked out when my son had a rectal tear. DHS is one that's failed him. DHS has lied in court multiple times. They want to call me crazy and act like I have a problem. When I just speak out and I report abuse and I expect something to change and they don't do anything. I've been lucky with the attorneys that are involved in my case. Not every attorney is great, but if you're in a DHS situation and you have your attorney, do not depend on child welfare to inform in court about what's going on in your case. If you reach out to your child's attorney with their email address, reach out, keep in contact with your attorney, because if you only let DHS give their report, then that's all they have to go off. So you can still advocate, you have a voice. And DHS does not make decisions for your child. The courts do. So, I had a lot of workers, and not all of them are bad. There's one worker that really stood up for me, and she got a 2-week suspension because she refused to do what state office was asking her to do. many workers have come forward and told me that they had to put these things in how important the state office told them they had to. When threatened third party, DHS state office has called other places to threaten me. And let's see, I called the Attorney General, I called the state's office, I called OSBI, I called the Inspector General, and we've gotten nowhere from it. And it's become a pattern of behavior with multiple kids in the state. It's not just my son. There are so many kids that are in these. You can't get help for your special needs child unless they're in DHS custody. So you're pretty much screwed. If you have a special needs kid and you can't meet his needs or their needs, then the state gets them and they have specific inpatient facilities that take your special needs kids, but they will only take them if they're in DHS custody. So our children are not safe in state's custody, and until they stand up and protect our kids and prevent the abuse, or at least call out the abuse, or step down and, remove the child. My attorney has to file paperwork to get my child out of these situations when he was being abused, and no one listened except for the court. The judge granted that my son had to get out of that place that he was being abused at. So, I'll keep it short, apologize for anxiety, but yeah, I speak for that. I'm not going anywhere.
We have a couple of candidates that are here that are running for office. I'm going to bring up Liza Haynes. Yep. Lisa. She is running for governor, so if you guys have heard of her, she made an appearance today to support much needed changes in our state. I'll let her talk a little bit about herself, but come on.
I'm Lisa Mitchell Haynes. God told me I would be a governor in third grade, and he sent an angel to me in August of 23 saying, this is the time to start to plan and get started. I stand for you all, parents, and I know DHS is messed up terribly, and I am going to reform it completely, and I'm going to right some wrongs. If you guys, I'll tell you about one, and you'll probably leave it. In Idabel, a friend of mine, her name is Kim. She was 22 years old, and the love of her life came home from leave. It was her neighbor, and that produced a baby. She didn't tell him about it, and raised her child. He was 2 years old, and she has a 4-month-old. She was changing the diaper of the 4-month-old, and heard her 2-year-old screaming. She went in there, and her boyfriend was stomping on the baby. So she dived on the floor to protect the child. He stomped on her. But the mother and the child both went to the hospital. The boy was arrested, but he was given 3 weeks probation. As soon as she got out of the hospital, the district attorney and 2 DHS workers called on her and said, we're charging you with child endangerment, and you're looking at 18 years in prison. But you don't have if you sign over your children. She was 22 years old, didn't have an attorney, was scared to death. She said, so I'm looking at 18 years in prison, which means I lose my children anyway, or I have to sign over my children. And they said, well, the good news is they'll stay in Idabel because we know a family that wants that want these children. I think it was a put-up deal. I think there was a family in Idabel that wanted a child, and they found 2 children. They called them and said, hey, we got 2, will you take 2? And so she was charged with child endangerment. This boy has continued to live his life, and I'm going to tell you more about that in just a moment. But every job she's ever had, she could not keep this job. They gave her a life sentence anyway. So that child is now 27. Her mother fought for grandparent rights in London. That opened the door to her getting to know this child, both of them. She readopted the 2-year-old when he was 25. He has met his wife, which is cool because he never even knew he had a child. Now, the 4-month-old doesn't remember her, but knows that she's his biological mother. I'm going to give her a full pardon. This young man, you know, time doesn't change his stripes, right? So 25 years later, he's dating a woman and the baby dies. They blame it on her ex-husband, and he is sitting in prison now. I'm going to find out who he is, who she is. I'm going to do an investigation to find out how many other children he has hurt, and he's going to go to prison. I'm there for you. There is not going to be another child hurt in this state. Some of my other goals that might affect you is I'm going to work with cities and counties to fix the streets and bridges that have been left neglected. I'm going to redo the education department. We're going to get rid of sight words and go back to phonics to teach people to read. We're not going to dumb down our students anymore. 20% of the high school graduates this year in Oklahoma graduated without reading. We're getting rid of Common Core because Oklahomans, you are exceptional. And our children deserve to be exceptional. So we're not Common Core anymore. We're getting rid of the Globalist 2030 plan for education. You can look that up on their plan on the web. They're proud of it. And it'll make you sick to see how they're in the schools. They probably are in VHS trying to run you and take your rights away. But you got a warrior here, you got a fighter. I'm gonna have office hours, so if something happens to you, like your rights are taken away or you're told you're crazy because you're defending for your child, I can understand a little craziness, can't you? You come see me. You got a fighter here, right? I've got cards in my purses. You can look me up. My email's on there if you need to tell me any other situation. I'm a Republican, by the way, just so you know. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for taking up tonight. We have another candidate that's running for Senate District 24, which, if you guys know, that would be Senator Darrell Weaver's district. He's currently running for Lieutenant Governor, so her name is Heather Ross. I didn't get to talk to her very much, but, you know, I am always welcoming people who are looking to fill these positions because they will be working with us eventually. So let's listen here, Heather. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what your focus is.
You don't know much about me, but I appreciate that. I am Heather Boss, and I am running for Senate District 24. I do know a lot of faces here, so there are folks here who can back it up that you're not just letting a crazy person come up here to talk to you. But today, I just wanted to come and say, Oklahoma today is about one thing. It is about restoring trust. For far too long, our courts and our government agencies have operated in the shadows, and you know that. Many of you are experiencing that. Families have been hurt, decisions that have impacted children, parents, and our communities. They've been made behind closed doors, without the sunlight, without transparency, without accountability. But that must stop now. And if I get elected into office, I can assure to you today that I will be the one to stand with you, stand up for you, stand beside you, and fight on your behalf. I have been blessed to know Representative J.J. Humphrey, and I am so happy to hear a lot of your stories he's been able to share with me over the last few years that I've gotten to know him. I'm sad that he's not here today. I know that he normally wouldn't miss this, but it had to be super important for him to not be here. But also, when you just look at the Mooney case, right? We know that is happening right now. Her son was taken away unjustly. It's a heartbreaking decision. I mean, I think about that at night. How can you go through that? And it was made without transparency, without accountability, without the parents being involved, with no reason behind it. This is not just a story. It's a warning to everyone. It's a warning that when our courts operate in the secret place, real families suffer, and you know that. Real children are harmed, and this is why we must stand and demand change. Cameras in the courtroom, they're not just about a spectacle, right? They're about fairness. They're about equal opportunity for each person. They protect the due process, they strengthen our institutions, and they remind every public servant that they work for you, for the people. They, not the other way around. Transparency, it safeguards our families and it ensures justice and builds trust in the very system that is meant to serve us. Accountability is not a partisan issue. Republican, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, we can all get on board with this issue. It doesn't matter where you stand. This is about Oklahoma families. This is about the Constitution, and it's about the government, the people that we elect, standing up to do their jobs. And it's about DHS operating openly, about our courts and any state agency that citizens deserve to see how justice is done. And I'm here and I'm running because our government should belong to the people. It does belong to the people. Our courts belong to the people. And something isn't right. We have a duty to stand up and demand change. Courageous oversight, transparency, and accountability are not optional. They are foundational. Oklahoma today, we are shining a light. We speak up and together we will restore the trust, will protect our families, and ensure justice is truly done in the open. So let's take our state back, let's demand transparency, and let's demand accountability, and let's do it together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I'm so relieved that I brought you up because I didn't know what people were going to say. You did wonderful. Our next speaker is Christine Rice. I got to speak to her before this. So she's doing it boldly. I'm a parent advocate, and she wanted to share a little bit with you. Christine?
Hi everyone. This is really close. I feel like this is my name. Okay, yay. Hi everyone. I really didn't know that I was going to be speaking today. I actually came to support Amy and her mother Nikki. They invited me to join them. You guys need to give props to Haley. I just want to say. I did not expect to make a speech. I typed up something, but before I actually did what I had typed, it is a sad situation when you have judges in the Oklahoma County District Courthouse that can remove your child that you have had for 11 years with 0 allegations of abuse against you. 0. It has been trying not to cry. It has been 36 days since I have seen my daughter. Last week, my case is so significant because I had a judge, Aguilar, who ruled on my case, who did not have jurisdiction of my case, who is a special judge. She is not an appointed chief presiding judge, presided over an emergency order to remove my daughter from me, wholly based on an affidavit that I was withholding my child, on my custodial leave. That was it. My daughter is autistic. She has ADD. She's a special needs child. I have been her primary caregiver and guardian since she was 3 months of age. She was born addicted to heroin, meth, and cocaine. I have taken her to every doctor's appointment her entire life. We escaped a domestic violence situation. We created an amazing life in Edmond, Oklahoma, and we were attending Deer Creek schools. After 4 years and 5 different supervised visitation orders, my ex has been paying for her after I filed an appeal with the Supreme Court because he received all of the assets in our home after the divorce. Cassie is now Judge Michelle Harrington did not care about the 5 previous orders of supervised visitation by 4 separate judges in 2 different counties. She did not care about his arrest for strangulation and assault of me in 2018. Today I'm standing here not just as a mother. Oh, one thing I want to add. Last week I sat before a Supreme Court rep, and they're going to be deciding on my case in about 10 days. Today I'm standing here not just as a mother, not just as a guardian, and not just one person fighting in an impossible fight. I'm standing here as a voice for every single family who's walked into a courtroom hoping for fairness and walked out feeling silenced, punished, abused, and absolutely erased and their child's voice completely removed. I have lived it. I am living the nightmare that happens when judges operate in the dark. As you know, my own judge has systematically removed my child from me, and now a new judge has taken her completely. There is no evidence. There is no emergency. There was no allegation of abuse or neglect. Nothing that legally justifies ripping a child away from her home. False allegations that I have withheld, and it was my custodial week. There was no investigation, no opportunity for me to speak, no chance for me to present evidence, no in-camera interview with the child, and no legal basis for the decisions that were made. A judge took my daughter from me without a cause and without the procedures for the law that the law requires. And that is exactly why we're here today. Because when justice happens in darkness, injustice absolutely thrives in the state of Oklahoma. This is why we need cameras and audio in every courtroom across the state of Oklahoma. If cameras have been rolling on every single day since February 26th of 2025, and in every hearing in the 9 hours I sat on the stand in my PPO hearings, my child would be standing next to me. The public would have seen that there was no emergency. They would have seen no abuse was ever alleged against me. They would have seen the judge ignore due process. They would have seen my daughter's safety, that my daughter's safety and her voice and her emotional well-being was being completely and entirely dismissed. There would be a factual record. The attorneys, the GAL, and the judge would be held accountable, and there would have been truth. Instead, decisions were made by judge shopping, running around to see who would hear the ex parte emergency order that wasn't truly legitimate. This is not justice, this is harm, and I'm not the only one that it has happened to. When a judge, when judges know that no one is watching, children get hurt. Judges hold more power over children than almost anyone in the state. Yet they are the least monitored, the least recorded, and definitely the least accountable by judicial immunity. A teacher cannot make a decision about a child without documentation. A doctor cannot make a medical choice without a record. A police officer cannot act without a body camera, but a judge can take a child from a safe home with zero evidence and no camera running, and no one knows what really happened. This must end. We are calling for mandatory cameras and audio recordings in every single Oklahoma courtroom across the state. No exceptions. If it's a guardianship case, if it's an adult protective case, there's a gentleman right over here that has the same judge I do. It doesn't have to be for public viewing. You can provide a password to those who want to see it. They should be there. There should be no exceptions, no loopholes, no secret hearings, no whispers that actually protects it. Transparency doesn't just misconduct. Transparency prevents it. If judges must operate in the light, they will follow the law. If judges know the public can see their actions, they will treat families with fairness. If judges know their words are recorded, they will stop cutting corners on due process. My story is not isolated. I am the warning for every mother in the state of Oklahoma and father. If it can happen to me, a documented guardian, a protective parent, a mother who followed everything she ever could and spent every single day preparing venues, figure skating and everything, it happens anyway. But when people unite, when we speak out, when we demand transparency, the system cannot hide behind silence anymore. If the judges do not want cameras in their courtroom, if they do not want them there, that should tell you guys absolutely everything. That should tell you who's being paid. That should tell you the collusion that is occurring. This should tell you about the family court system. This will absolutely tell you everything about every single one of them. Because they will know that the people are watching, and I hope that they know that the cameras will be watching too. Thank you.
Now, our last speaker doesn't really need an introduction. This lady has been at everything we've ever held. She has participated in multiple grand jury petitions. She volunteers her time, not only for her own case, but for many other cases in the state. Lisa Woolley, if you come up here. Lisa Woolley has become a very close friend of mine. The Woolleys are amazing people. If you don't know who she is, you might know her son, Gabe Woolley, who is Representative Woolley. They have a horrendous case in Riker County, and they're continuing to fight for their grandson to this day. Are we going on 7 years now, Lisa? 7.5 years they've been fighting for their grandson. So, Miss Lisa Woolley, if you please come and speak to us.
Hi. So, let me just take a minute, invite the Lord to have his way. Lord, I just thank you. Thank you and thank you and thank you that your heart is broken, your heart is so great. And Father, I thank you for raising up a mighty army of people, Lord, that will not connect, that will not let go of truth, that love truth, love justice, and ask you to empower these, Father, that you have raised up in this time. In Jesus' name. So, okay. Gosh, I need more again. There's a lot of twists and turns in a 7.5 year period. But some of you probably have seen the documentary, Saving Clayton. If not, you can go to the Rescue Clayton website. It will pop right up. And when it's third award, it was playing in theaters in Broken Arrow, Tulsa. It's another story about injustice and so much of what I'm about to share, if not all of it, would be not have happened if there was accountability in the courtroom, if there was cameras, if there was also transcripts. So transcripts were withheld from us illegally, even from the mother, and we took guardianship of our grandchildren because my daughter was struggling with addiction. And she fought like crazy for years and years to fight for her son and to stay in a good place. The living home right over. But what I'd like to say, there's several things really, but it's really what we saw, some of our experiences, and the daughter would be in court. It was not uncommon for the judge to say, okay, we're on court reporter, on. Well, let's take a minute to go talk. And then everything that wasn't there when it was off didn't get recorded. So they would just turn it on and turn it off so that only the things that came on were the things that they wanted to come on. So I just saw the abuses of that, and there's many other times when they didn't even try to offer, in many cases, a court reporter at all. So none of this would be able to happen if there was cameras in the courtroom. And what I can't understand, like somebody said earlier, is that why in God's name, if you're a righteous judge, and surely there must be some, you would think you would be fighting for this because you believe in justice. You want justice. And so I can't figure that out in my mind. Now there are states, a lot of people don't know this, I didn't know this, where DHS hearings are open, where the records are open. And the argument that she's everything's secret and dark to protect the children. Well, they're not having any problems with the children in these states that have open systems. So I don't think that's really what's going on here. So I think that we need to look at what's working in other states and start to implement some of those things. Let's see. We've had a lot of times we'll find go to a court hearing and they won't have a court report. And they'll say, sorry, you didn't order one and pay for it this far out ahead of time. Which I always understood was supposed to be a given because all courts are supposed to be on record. And in fact, they're not even supposed to count. So